Day 8 of Tranche 1, Phase 3 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. We've just had the first session of the morning with Geoffrey Craft, who was former head of the Special Demonstration Squad in the mid-1970s. A little bit later, hang on a second. Yeah, I think he was. I'm joined by Evelyn Lubbers from the Undercover Research Group.
Hello.
I've only set one mic because we've only got a short break now, and we'll be back. Grab yourself a chair, dude. We'll be back in fairly soon. You was Geoffrey Craft, who was former head of the unit. He had a much more robust defence of the role of the unit. He said that he was that they were protecting the freedom of the public to live in a parliamentary democracy. He's been a lot more candid. He actually remembers things, unlike yesterday, so that's a vast improvement. Evelyn, what do you think?
I think he remembers a lot more. He remembers a lot more, I think. And
Or admits to remembering more.
Yeah, also no, but even more than he admits. I'm trying to look at him and thinking whenever he takes a pause before answering and then saying, I can't remember, that's when he's lying. He's kind of thinking about, can I say this? No, I'm not going to say it. And then, so he's very sort of from central typecasting, so to say, if you want, like, are we not on?
Yeah, you are, yeah. Just
okay. If you need someone from the security service or special branch, you would pick him, from the folder of people who looked the part. Sort of in hindsight, with Bryce yesterday, you almost, even more, you don't believe that he can't remember. Of course, people have different memories, and it works like that, and we all know that. But he is much more, like you said, much more straightforward with what he remembers, and he's also sort of, I can't believe I didn't think of the effects or the possible consequences of using death certificates or birth certificates of dead children. Like, of course, it makes you think, like, if he sounds so much like, of course, it's, for the grieving families, blah, 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 it sounds like an excuse he's making, because at the same time he says, we never thought of it, which is, I
mean, I would say he was, bloody hell,
sorry, I still don't know.
Yeah, he did say that the way that he talked about that, he said it was very sad that they should not have ever found out about it. It almost sounded like he was about to apologise, but he never at any point said that it was that they shouldn't have done it, just that they shouldn't have been found out. And it was very sad, and that that they exasperate, furthered the grief of the families who'd suffered that horrendous loss. But there was no apology. There was no sense of any sort of guilt on his behalf.
No, and I think this goes for more, the entire existence of the STS and everything they did. They're trying to kind of get him to say, like, we should never have done this, or we should have thought about the consequences or the legality of it. But the main line that has been taken by anybody we've seen so far is like, it all went well until it got found out. It was intended never to have been found out, and in fact, it's a big shame that it has. And then in hindsight, we can say all kind of like politically correct things, like I shouldn't have done. Maybe that was a bit much. But I still remember that one guy last week who said, like when he was asked, couldn't most of the information have been gathered in another way, like from leaflets and agendas and public meetings. Yeah, but we had the STS, so we'd use it. It's like, it's kind of a full circle. Like you have a secret team. It is supposed to remain secret, and you use it as long as you can. And I'm sure they will use similar stuff today.
Yeah, absolutely. There was there was a number of times when, you know, kind of things were put to Geoffrey Kraft about, like, kind of, you know, was this overreach, you know, about the, you know, the reports on a pregnancy, on someone's sexuality, on their children, on the bank account details. And he was like, well, there was no policing value that whatsoever, but, you know, they adopted this unfiltered approach, and this would happen, and just kind of a shrug of shoulders about, like, kind of, oh, well, you know, there's no real sort of concern taken for what that actually meant.
Yeah, and even more so, they said, you know, it was not our responsibility to decide what was useful and what was not. Kraft hasn't said in that many words, but before we've heard, like, we never got any complaints. Security Service was happy with it. So we just continued. And, like, you know, like with the first bit of Kraft this morning, he said, you know, again, he said, like Bryce yesterday, there was no introduction. We didn't speak to the managers before us. We just decided on the job, what the job should entail, like literally in discussions between us. And that is, you know, like, it just continued to exist with the managers being brought in and leaving again. And the undercovers basically making up their own jobs and doing whatever they did. It's so incredible that there were no reviews at any point, just the yearly letter to get further funding to the Home Office. Tells you something.
Yeah, and also that even within the unit, like the unfiltered approach of the field officers, it was equally unfiltered once these reports came in. There was no, like, they weren't cutting it down for the next day. It was, you know, and here we are 50 years later, and we're reading these details now. In terms of how the questioning is going today, I think it's much better than yesterday. Also, Mitting is intervening much more. I think obviously he must have watched our videos from yesterday where we criticised him heavily, and he's taken it on board. So well done, John. Good on you.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Bar is so much better than he was, last week. You know, like we discussed yesterday, like interviewing or witness hearings are not just working through your list of questions and then, you know, check, done that one, go to the next one. It is actually listening to what someone has to say when he pauses and asks things again. You know, like, pushing a bit. Bar is good at it today, but it could be even more. He could be even better. There was one time where I thought, okay, so, oh yeah, this was about when he was asked whether Rick Gibson or Richard Clark, as his real name was, would he have pulled him had he known about the sexual relationships? Within brackets, we don't believe that he didn't know, but he claims he doesn't know about sexual relationships. And then he said, could have led to disciplinary actions, but then, you know, the SDS would have been revealed, so there would have been a good discussion if. And then you could also say, like, if these things happen in an undercover unit, wouldn't that be a reason to just stop the existence of that unit, or wouldn't that have been a point of discussion that early on? You know, like this was in 1974, the first relationships that we know of, or that have been. So, yeah, he could have asked that. But
he didn't. I'm just aware of the time. We're going back in fairly soon. We'll be back again for another reaction around 1 o'clock when we break for lunch. It's Geoffrey Kraft all day. Perhaps we'll have someone else joining us to give a reaction. It's much fuller public gallery today than it has been on any of the other days, so maybe there'll be some more people with us. Cheers, guys. See you later on. I will be tweeting.